What's up, guys? Welcome back to Let's Play Sengoku Basara 2! So if I hadn't said so before already in this Let's Play, one thing I like to mention is the fact that between every single mission we have like a text crawl that basically explains what's going on and, the reason for our next move in terms of the story. And there's also dialogue in all of these cutscenes that has no subtitles, English or otherwise. So maybe that's an option we can enable in the settings for Japanese subtitles, but this game is effectively not translated anyway. So all of that plot that the game itself has, we have no way of really comprehending that, unfortunately, without any kind of translation. So that's why I'm not commenting on that. I'm sure the story of the game is, like as I've said before, has its own complete continuity, separate from the anime or separate from actual history and all of that, but it's really difficult for me to actually make any comments on that from what I can't observe on my own or research without being able to read any kind of translation or be able to speak Japanese. So without any further ado, let's move on to Keiji's final stage against Toyotomi Hideyoshi. That was a pretty excellent dodge there against these guys. So this is actually a pretty interesting level. It's very beautiful. It has a nice sort of gray sky. There's like a faint tint of blue to it, even though it's kind of overcast. It's actually pretty nice looking. I quite like it. I went ahead and equipped I'm pretty sure I have the same moves as the last fight, but that'll be fine going into the final battle. There might have been one or two moves I would have preferred to have had over the sneeze attack thing, but I'll be using that just fine, so I'm not terribly worried about it. Keiji's powerful enough as he is. So again, in context of the anime, Toyotomi Hideyoshi pretty much outsmarted everybody left and right and had complete control of the country in no time. Oh look, some ninjas, because no army is complete without a ninja corps in this game, of course. But, yeah, they really didn't have a brilliant strategy for taking him on like they did with Nobunaga. It wasn't so easy because he had uprooted all these forces and gotten them to fight amongst each other and that kind of thing. But Keiji was very persistent about trying to get Hideyoshi to see his ways and to get him to stop fighting. So we're going to go up against Takanaka Hanbei again, and this time we'll finish him off for good. So whatever illness he is sick with is not going to be the end of him in this day. No, we're going to finish him off finally. So he's a little bit easier to kill, obviously, because he's just a sub-boss instead of the main boss, so he takes damage a little bit harder, but we still have to be pretty wary of him because he has some nasty, very quick attacks, as I've said before. And you saw how I chained into the sneeze attack there with the kicks and the air juggle. It's quite good for that. They use the initial sneeze. It kind of serves as almost like a guard break, but it's just not very good for that because it doesn't. The multiple hits don't really flow well together, if that makes any sense. So yeah, we already almost got him. We'll be playing as him quite soon if I hadn't already said so before. But yeah, you kind of have to suspend your disbelief when it comes to this series, obviously because of how stupidly over the top it can be, both in the games and in the anime. Because you kind of have to stop asking yourself, what do I think is acceptable in terms of, what does it take to hurt one of these guys? Obviously being knocked around and sent flying into the air doesn't do any significant damage to them, and they can probably take multiple hits from a sword, but once they start bleeding, oh no, it's over. And then, Keiji, when he went to go stop Hideyoshi, he gets trampled by the Hideyoshi's horses in his army, and Keiji just seems to be completely incapacitated for a while before he gets back up, and by that time the fight is already over. I guess I don't know if the series was intentionally trying to get us to worry about Keiji's safety and be like, oh, is he gonna die? Or something like that, but clearly that was not the case. And it was just for the emotional impact of Keiji reminiscing on his memories of being Hideyoshi's friend. But yeah, it's just like, okay, if he's able to take as much damage as he can during a fight, why would being trampled by a horse make any kind of difference? But it's whatever. So this level is thankfully pretty small. This area is very dense with large enemies, so I'm going to try to clear out some of these command units as quickly as possible so that enemies don't continue to flood out from all these doors. This stronghold does actually look somewhat similar in aesthetics to the one in the anime, so that's pretty good. It kind of makes you wonder, though, like, when they just introduce these characters out of nowhere, like, what were they doing the whole time during the previous conflict? Like, what was what was Hideyoshi doing during the first game, and where did he get all these soldiers, and how long did it take to train all of them up? Obviously, we know in real history the two of them were part of the same faction almost, and when Nobunaga got assassinated, it was Hideyoshi that became his successor and just basically finished what he started. Which is much less dramatic than what we're dealing with here, of course. So we're fighting these two statue enemies. I don't think we've fought these yet in the Let's Play, so this is a new enemy type. They're completely impractical. I definitely, clearly they had this type of technology in the Sengoku era, of course. And even if they did, it's like, yeah, they have the technology, and we're going to use it to have two giant robotic statues that have arms that just sort of reach out towards enemies and knock them over, because that's how that works. They could have any number of, like, blades or bombs, anything else, but they have just hands. It's quite silly. But there will be more and more silly enemies as the series goes on, and eventually, when we get to Basara 3 and 4, there will be regular enemies that will start to do weird shit in formation, and it's hilarious. But we'll get to that when we get to that. But yeah, it's like, where did Hideyoshi have all this time to train up all these soldiers? Like, where did they all come from? Unless they got absorbed into his army from Nobunaga's army, which is a possibility in the context of Basara and not in the context of real history. And on that note, I probably should do my research again and find out how exactly Hideyoshi, or how and when Hideyoshi died in real history. I'm pretty sure it must have been after the whole... I'm pretty sure it was after the whole Sekigahara thing, but I could be wrong. I'm going to have to look it up again. So obviously, we can continue to fight these enemies if we wish, but we need to get through the gate. And that'll allow us to go straight to Hideyoshi himself, so now that we've opened the gate, there should be little standing in our way. He doesn't have any more sub-bosses or anything like that. There's another character I suppose he could have, but that character hasn't been introduced yet. So we're going to go ahead and heal up before we move on to the boss battle. Yeah, it's interesting because, like, Nobunaga had, like, what, 3 or so allies? Or he had 2 mini-bosses in his stage, and then himself. But I suppose that's very unusual because most other characters in the series don't have that. But then again, this is supposed to be the main boss of the game we're dealing with here, so... Alright, time for the final battle against Hideyoshi. And if I hadn't emphasized this enough yet, he is obscenely strong. He puts Nobunaga to shame, actually, both in context of the game and in the anime. He is ridiculously powerful, and I really won't even emphasize how overpowered he is made to be in the anime until we actually start playing as him, because I don't want to run out of things to talk about when I play as him. But yeah, he is massive. He's taller than any other character in Basara, unless you count those weird guys that you can play as in Sanryuki Moriden, but I haven't gotten that game yet, so we'll see how they play when I finally get it. But up until this point, he's the tallest character in all of Basara. He fights with his fists. His weapons are actually his gauntlets. They don't modify his appearance all that much, so I can't even tell you right now if the ones he has equipped right now are his standard ones or his upgraded ones. So his normal melee attacks seem pretty slow, but he has a lot of really nasty special moves, including that one where he'll pick you up and drag you against the ground. There's another one where he'll pick you up and spin you around and throw you, which is a pretty nice move when you're actually playing as him. The good thing is he's a big target, so we can use our secondary attack there, the air juggle, to do some decent damage. There we go, that knocked him right off his feet. Yeah, I don't think Keiji was ever meant to be as strong as Hideyoshi at all in the anime. Hideyoshi's characteristics are basically just he values strength over anything else in terms of characteristics. He feels like that's the defining purpose of a person, is to be strong, and he always talks about you lack strength and you lack strength, and when he defeats somebody, he's like, this will be the end of those who lack strength and things like that. That seems to be his reoccurring thing. That seems to be the only sort of sense of value he really has. But we managed to defeat him rather effortlessly, so we're gonna Falcon Punch him straight into the wall, and we're gonna leave him alive. I'm actually not sure what happens here in context of the story, but apparently we had our way with him at least, so that's good. Alright, so that's it for Keiji's campaign. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to be doing several more of these character story modes before we finish this Let's Play, and you guys will see those very soon. So at the end of every one, we get a nice CGI cutscene. I'm going to show this one off really quick, although we get plenty more like it to come.